Hello everyone and welcome to the MES tool release highlights for the autumn 2024. So I'm gonna tell you something about the latest release of the MES Model Examiner, or MXAM for short, which is always your guide to better modeling. So my name is 𝙎𝙩𝙧𝙚𝙣𝙎 and I'm the product application engineer of MXAM. And I'm really proud to present you the highlights of this release. And the upcoming release is the 10.3. And this release comes in terms with achieving a better coverage for modeling guidelines. And one of these topics is that we have new checks that strengthen your strong data typing enforcement with guidelines from the typical standards MISRA, ACS, LSF, and as well MAP. And these new checks support you in the enforcement of strong data typing by checking for implicit typecasting, data type equality, or as well restrict or check for restricting data types for specific blocks. But that's not all. We have also introduced new checks for guidelines, which are in terms for Stateflow charts. And there we have, on the one hand, checks that can improve the robustness of your Stateflow charts, and as well to increase the readability and the comprehensibility of these charts. So the aforementioned robustness can be improved by guidelines for defensive programming techniques that are in terms for the use of safe language subsets, for instance, and the readability is improved by style guidelines from MAP and JMAP standard. So then let's get over into the tool. So I have listed here some of the guidelines which are now covered by checks. So I talked about the strong data typing, which is one of the recommended coding principles or design principles from the functional safety standard ISO 26262. And strong data typing is necessary to prevent unexpected behavior, errors in the runtime, or as well that you can, with strong data typing in models, avoid unnecessary typecasting in the generated code. And we have here two guidelines now covered. One is from MISRA and one is from MAP, which state that when you have a data type conversion, you should implement this explicitly and do not this in an implicit way. And this is in terms of that with the implicit way, this is hidden functionality, and this also can reduce the maintainability and comprehensibility of the model, and as well then can reduce the generated code reliability as well in the end. So one of the guidelines for Stateflow in terms of defensive programming techniques is, for instance, to not use different state action. So these guidelines are coming to, like I said, restrict to a language subsystem in order to achieve predictable or more predictable behavior in Stateflow charts. And as well, regarding the style, we have, for instance, here the junction size or the size of an error of a transition. So the style guideline increase the readability of a model and as well achieve a unique look and feel overall your Stateflow charts in your development project. Okay, let's see this in action. And we have here a small analysis started with the new checks. So let's first have a look at the strong data typing. So we have here one check where we see that the data type of output signals and input signals is not equal, and it seems we have always the direct link into the model. So we see here with the information overlay, we have 𝑢64 in the computation here. And we see that here the output is integer 32, which seems that there is where the check detected, and here's an implicit data type conversion implemented. And as we always with our checks, guide you to a solution. So we have here that choose the same data type for input and output signals, and when you need a data type conversion, for instance, so it seems that the output maybe should be of integer 32, so that here in this case, implement the data type conversion explicitly, so to have a separation of the functionalities of the calculation and the data type conversion. Okay, so then we can head over to one of the Stateflow guidelines for defensive programming techniques. So here, besides aside from the to not use state actions, so we have also here one guideline that Simulink functions shall not be used in Stateflow charts. That this should not be a very complex thing, which can be difficult to maintain or difficult to understand this. And here we can also have a look. So again, link into the model. So we see here in this Stateflow chart, there is a Simulink function, maybe also a little bit hidden. So it's good that the guideline so requires you to not use this in charts. Okay, so let's stay with this chart, I think, and let's have a look at one of the aforementioned style guidelines. So we have here one guideline which restricts you, or which says, so the size of the junction should be a fixed setting for your project. And this means that this is also one check that is customizable here via check parameter. So when you decide upon a size for your junctions in your project, you can set it there. And let's see. So we see here's one junction which is not the fixed size, which we define in the check parameter. And the good news here is now that you can now repair this automatically with our repair function, where you can see now here in a transparent way again, so what was really the finding and what is now the repair action doing. And let's apply this, and we see on the right side that this now was made a little bit smaller, and we head to the next finding where we see, okay, it was the same size, but both of them were big or too big for our project. and then we can apply this here again and see that now, we have passed this style guideline here. So this is one way you can resolve guideline violations quickly by using the automatic repair function. So we have several GUI workflow enhancements to improving the overall user experience, because some points at the UI were upgraded to ensure a more consistent user experience. And we also updated our license manager to the version 2.4. And this updated license manager supports you in configuring the license via an environment variable. So for this use case, when you have an environment variable where a path for a specific license is given, you can now configure via the license manager. So this was the overview about the highlights of MXAM 10.3. And we're really happy to stay in contact with you. And if you have any questions or support queries, so you can contact us here at MES. So that's for me to say goodbye and wishing you a nice autumn.